Introduction. At the Sishen West Expansion Project, we truly believe that all injuries are preventable and that by working together, we can make safety a way of life, inside and outside the workplace. This induction explains precautions that you must take to remain safe during your visits. You will learn about access requirements, personal protective equipment requirements, particular hazards that you may encounter on site, and the meaning of signs and notices. This induction also explains what to do in the unlikely event of an emergency and advises how to report an incident or hazard. Before proceeding with the induction, please note that as a visitor, you can only access the project site for a maximum of 2 days and cannot perform any work while on site. If you need to be on site for longer than 2 days or must perform work on site, additional induction and evaluation is required. Accessing the site. To access the Sishen West Expansion Project site, you must present to security, who will check that you have the following: a visitor induction card. To receive a visitor induction card, you must watch this video and answer a short questionnaire. Correct personal protective equipment: hard hat, eye protection, safety boots, reflective vest, a host that will accompany you at all times while on site. If you meet these requirements, security will issue you with a visitor card. Please wear this card at all times while on site. Also, please remember to return this card when leaving the site. While on site. While on site, you must remain with your host at all times. Your host has completed a comprehensive induction to this site and will ensure that you meet access requirements, you are aware of any specific safety requirements relating to your visit, you do not enter restricted areas without authorization. In addition, in the case of an emergency, your host will ensure you are informed and escorted to a designated assembly area. If you witness an incident or observe a hazard, your host will ensure these events are notified to the relevant parties and addressed in accordance with site procedures. In the case that you are injured, your host will ensure you receive appropriate treatment, including first aid and medical treatment. The following activities and equipment present a significant risk to anyone accessing the Sishen West Expansion Project site. Please take note of these hazards and adhere to the following rules to ensure that you're not injured during your visit. Light vehicles. Light vehicles include passenger cars, four-wheel drives, pickups or buckies, and minibuses. There are specific requirements for these vehicles and their drivers that must be met before they are permitted on site. Accordingly, you are not permitted to drive while on site or to bring your personal vehicle onto site. Surface mobile plant and equipment standard. Surface mobile plant and equipment includes rear dump, belly dump, and water trucks, dozers, graders, and pressurized road and rail tankers. All drivers of surface mobile plant and equipment undergo a strict evaluation and induction process. Accordingly, visitors are not permitted to drive on site. Visibility for drivers of mobile plant and equipment is often restricted. When in the vicinity of mobile plant and equipment, please maintain awareness of vehicle movements and follow all instructions provided by your host, flagmen, and signs or notices. Hazardous materials management. Hazardous materials include materials that are flammable, explosive, corrosive, toxic, or allergenic. There are specific requirements for bringing hazardous material onto site and using these materials while on site. If you need to bring hazardous materials onto site, please consult your host, who will explain our requirements. These requirements include provision of a material safety data sheet and risk assessment for any application of the materials. Equipment safeguarding standard. Considerable effort has been made to safeguard people from moving parts of plant, mobile machines, equipment and power tools. Please take the following precautions while on site. Do not operate any plant or equipment. Keep a safe distance from plant and equipment at all times. Do not wear any loose clothing or jewellery that could become caught in moving parts of tools and equipment. Isolation. Several sources of hazardous energy are present on this site. These include kinetic, electrical, mechanical, static, and gravitational energies. Specific requirements apply for the isolation and lockout of these energies. Under no circumstances should you tamper with any lockout indicators. An important method we use to prevent harm is to separate people from hazardous equipment and activities. This is done by barricading or demarcating areas. Although your host will guide you to ensure you do not enter these areas, please note that under no circumstances are you permitted to cross over any barricade during your visit. Working at heights. Working at height requirements apply whenever there is a potential for any person to fall 1.8 meters or more, including working from various forms of portable and movable elevated work platforms, such as ladders and scaffolding. Anyone working at height must first undertake a comprehensive induction and assessment process. Accordingly, visitors are not permitted to access any area where there is a potential to fall 1.8 meters or more. Confine